I don't think that this means that Nick Chubb walks into a 3-down role. And if it does, I'm going to be awfully wrong on Nick Chubb this season. The reason I say that is because he's really never been used that way. And his pass catching stats, his peripheral stuff over the years has really painted a picture of a middling, if not, poor pass catcher out of the backfield. I have some numbers to back that up, Pat, if you like. We have in 2022, Nick Chubb was 33rd among 50 qualifying running backs in yards per route run. In 2021, he was 52nd out of 65 running backs in that stat. And then you go back to 2019. I was reaching, okay, folks. I was looking for an in to say, oh, but you have this, but maybe Nick Chubb is good out of the backfield. In 2019, when Nick Chubb saw a career high 49 targets, his yards per route run was 37th out of 46 qualifying running backs. So traditionally not a very good option catching the ball out of the backfield. I don't think that he takes that role this year.
It is interesting with Nick Chubb where he does not pop in the more advanced metrics, but when he actually does catch the ball over the past 3 years, he's averaged 8.9 yards per catch. We all know yards per catch, the noisiest stat ever. You get yelled at if you ever cite it, but over 43 game sample size where he's caught 63 balls, he's averaged 9 yards per catch. Which maybe they should design more Nick Chubb receptions.
Yeah.
Because when you're explosive, like rolling ball of butcher knives with the ball in his hand, seems like he might be kind of good with that. And that
with like Derrick Henry.
Yes.
you know, get him in space. That might work. I don't think that the team really sees him like that unless, Kevin Stefanski's view of Nick Chubb has really changed over this offseason, and maybe it has. But Jerome Ford, I think could easily take that Kareem Hunt role, if you want to call it that.
Jerry Ford, as he's known in the history books.
Yes, Gerald F. Ford.
Yeah, Jerry Ford.
So I do. Now you have me trying to come up with a Gerald Ford joke.
Sorry.
Back to the Cleveland backfield. Yeah. So I think in May we're talking about it. We're gonna say, oh well, maybe not. I do think that in the end we're going to see Nick Chubb take on that best pure rusher role. He's going to be fine at his ADP. Fine, good, decent, but I can't see him coming out and seeing 70, 80 targets in this Cleveland offense.
No, and I feel like even if it's not Jerome Ford, the third down back could just easily be someone who's like not on the roster right now. It could be a training camp addition, or maybe just some undrafted free agent type addition. I guess is Demetric Felton still on? It could be him. I think John Kelly might still be on the Browns.
Yeah, he is.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it a narrative during Deshaun Watson's time in Houston that he didn't target running backs?
Well, yeah, I mean, like most mobile quarterbacks, he has traditionally not checked down to running backs. And yeah, Felton's on the roster, Ford's on the roster, some other names I don't really recognize. So
John Kelly, the ex-Ram great, is on the roster.
But I think we tend to do this in the fantasy industry every offseason where we say, well, I don't see any great names behind this great player, so therefore the great player is going to see all the action, all the snaps, all the touches, everything. And it just so rarely works out that way. I mean, just because we don't know, doesn't mean the team doesn't love Jerome Ford.
And Nick Chubb, he's 27 with 5 years of NFL service time. Multiple coaching staffs have pigeonholed him as a 2-down back. The coaching staff, they don't change the way they view running backs. It's honestly kind of crazy. They just never, ever change the way they view running backs. And
yeah, that's right.
It is practically impossible. I will say maybe Nick Chubb could reach 30 receptions for the first time since 2019, which would be a big deal. I mean, there's a big difference. Even the difference from 20 to 30 receptions makes a fairly large difference in PPR.
Yeah.
And if you can somehow get to 40, then you're actually kind of talking a little bit.
Oh, sure.
If he caught 40 balls, which is within, maybe they don't even want him to be the third down back, but just say Jerry Ford doesn't run with this job, Felton doesn't run with the job, undrafted free agent, maybe they just could get forced into targeting Nick Chubb, and 40 receptions wouldn't be like a crazy outcome for Nick Chubb. I will say
it wouldn't. I think it's that's on the That's the upside, really. And that would be awesome if you're taking Nick Chubb at ADP and he gets 40 catches. But even if he gets like a little bit of that former Kareem Hunt role, then he can exceed his ADP and prove a slight value. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's going to be drafted in the second round of every draft in the world.